Welcome back, bastards, brigands, sirens and scoundrels, and of course, scruffy looking nerf herders. I am the Brigand Bob, and today we are going to talk about my Block 2 build, M4A1 Block 2. This is my build and recreation of the Block 2. So before we go ahead and get started, let's get something out of the way. This is not a clone correct Block 2 upper. I didn't set out to build a clone correct Block 2 upper. My bank account cannot handle that. So we'll go ahead and just check the weapon, make sure it's clear, point at the ceiling, break the trigger. And we'll go ahead and get started. So this, like I said, this is my Block 2 upper build. It is not clone correct, but it is how I want it for the moment. So we'll go ahead and start from, well, the lower actually, because I've actually had this lower for a while, and that wasn't part of this original build. It's just the lower that I decided to put this upper on, and I really like this lower. So we'll go ahead and get into it. So you saw from the early B-roll footage on the intro to this, that this has M4... This is property of U.S. government M4A1 carbine, caliber 5.56 millimeter. So it is not actually property of U.S. government. It is not an actual M4 lower. It is just roll marked that way. This is a Palmetto State lower that was roll marked as an M4 lower as part of a limited release that they did for special roll marked lowers. They do all kinds of crazy special lower markings for lower receivers, stripped lower receivers. And so I bought this as a completely stripped lower receiver and assembled it. And once I built the Block 2, it was like, well, yeah, this is perfect for this Block 2 build. These two things belong together. So this was the lower receiver that I decided to use. But Palmetto State Armory also makes strip lower receivers that have no roll markings on them whatsoever, aside from the serial number, and those are pretty cool as well. I believe they call those stealth lower receivers. I've got a few of those. So anyway, I'm veering off topic. It really kind of just matches the build, and so that's why I paired this upper receiver with this lower receiver. I actually sold my other 14.5-inch pinned and welded upper receiver, which was mid-length, so that I could build this one right here. So I'm running a Bravo Company buttstock on this lower receiver because I love Bravo Company. I really like this buttstock. About the only thing I would do differently is maybe swap it out for something that's FDE and swap out the Bravo Company pistol grip, gunfighter pistol grip, for one that's FDE as well, to just kind of go with the feel or the look of the Block 2 series, which tends to have a lot of FDE buttstocks and pistol grips. But it is a Bravo Company buttstock, and it is a Bravo Company gunfighter pistol grip, which I really dig. Another thing that is not even remotely clone correct is the safety selector, which is a Radian ambidextrous safety selector. I really like the Radian safety selectors, so I kept it instead of changing it out for your standard mil-spec safety selector, which would have made it a little bit more authentic. But I wasn't really trying to go for entirely authentic. This rifle is something that I was making my own. I was primarily concerned with the barrel and the rail system, as I mentioned earlier. So yeah, that's the lower. Not a lot special going on aside from you got your Bravo Company buttstock and you've got your Bravo Company gunfighter pistol grip, which I absolutely love. My favorite pistol grips for AR-15s, period. You also have, and this is, a lot of you guys will cringe at this, and that's fine, whatever. This is a Palmetto State drop-in single-stage trigger. Now, it's extremely light. It's like 2.5 pounds. It just breaks at nothing. the reset leaves a little something to be desired. There's not a real forceful reset, but the reset is short, like almost no travel to the reset, and almost nothing to break it. So you can run this trigger pretty quickly. It's easy to run. It's easy to get pretty tight groupings with it when you're running it fast. So it's not bad. It doesn't suck. I don't care for drop-in triggers personally. I would replace it with a Geisley if my wallet would allow it. I've got Geisleys in other builds, but I can't put a Geisley in everything. So I can't put a Geisley in everything. I simply can't afford to. But yeah, it is actually a really decent trigger, and it's 120 bucks, or it was 110 bucks, something like that. It's obnoxiously cheap. What I would like to check out though is the LaRue MBT trigger. I'm told is a fantastic trigger, and I am looking at giving that a shot in the future. I think it's only 100 bucks MSRP. So, but I digress. So, Bravo Company buttstock, Bravo Company pistol grip, Palmetto State trigger, and we've got the Radian Raptor ambidextrous safety selector. Coming up to the upper receiver, I am running a Radian Raptor LTE charging handle on this. Is a little smaller than the standard Radian charging handle, but I really like it, and it looks sharp on the gun. It's still easy to just grab it with the blade of your hand. So yeah, there's that. We have a Bravo Company FDE BCG in here, and it's fantastic. This thing's bomb proof. It'll just run all day. I really like it, and it's easy to clean. The coating makes it easy to clean, which is nice. So there's that. And I'm going to come up to the optic system in a second. I'm actually going to save that for last because I'm going to do a video for the optic itself in the future. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, but I am going to squeeze it in at the end. So moving on, we've got the Daniel Defense RIS II rail system, FSP for the front sight post. And if you saw the build video, you saw all of that as well. And we've got the Colt 14.5 inch SOCOM profile chrome lined barrel carbine length gas system. And man, is it nice. It's a thick boy, and it adds a little bit of weight to the build, but a little bit more weight also means gun shoots a little flatter. Just science, physics. So you wind up having a really soft shooting platform. This thing is easy to run fast, and you don't have to worry about like throwing shots all over the place or really spreading your groups out when you do. So it's pretty neat. And we've got a Surefire Scout Series, I want to say M600 light right there with the pressure pad that I just taped on top of some athletic tape. In case anybody's wondering, that is athletic tape. You can pick it up at Walmart. It's like a fabric tape, and I like it. It doesn't reflect any light or anything like that. Looks pretty sick, and if you wrap it in places where it gets hot, where you make contact with the gun, it actually does help mitigate the heat. I can't really do that because of the front sight post in this particular case, but anyway, it is what it is. And we have, I don't even know, some no-name foregrip that I chopped down here on the rail here. I don't even know what it is. It was just the only Picatinny foregrip that I had left in my box of spare leftover parts, so I put it on here rather than going and buying a new foregrip because I was going to chop it down anyway, which I did. Why do you chop down the foregrip? Because I like to chop down the foregrip. I'm not a fan of having this big thing hanging off of it. It only needs to stop my hand. It really just needs to be a hand stop, not a foregrip. I'm not going to run it like this. I'm going to run it like this. And so I don't need all of this down here. And if I need to muzzle strike somebody, I only need to get the webbing of my hand into it to really get it into their face. Not to mention, if you're holding it and you're muzzle striking, the real force is coming from your shoulders. And if you've got a good grip on it, you're going to bust up somebody's teeth, and they're going to have a bad day anyway. So yeah, I don't care for full-length foregrips. That's me. Coming all the way to the end, where we have the device, the muzzle device that is pinned and welded. This is a Bravo company extended A2 bird cage. So it is just your standard A2 bird cage. It's just longer, and it gets a 14.5 inch barrel to 16.1 inches in length, and perfect for doing pin and welds, which is why I got it, because it's not overextending the length of the rifle. So if I put a Surefire 3-prong on it, it's going to be much longer than 16 inches, and I'm not looking to extend the length of the weapon any more than I need to. So I go with the Bravo company extended A2 bird cage, which was perfect. It does exactly what I needed to. 16.1 inches, so it gets it to the legal rifle length once it's pinned and welded, which it is. I did do the pinning and welding myself. It was my first time doing it.
Real science. Try it.
And it was surprisingly easy, honestly. Drill press very slowly, took my time, kept measuring the depth with the pin until I got it exactly where I wanted it to be, gave the pin one good whack, and took a $70 welding machine that I got off of Amazon, welded it, polished it down to where it was nice and even so that my suppressor can fit on it, and that was it. And speaking of suppressor, let's go ahead and get that out now. So another reason for not going with a Surefire muzzle device was because I wanted to be able to mount my can to it. Now this is the Griffin Armament 30 SDK, which is a 30 caliber can with a gate lock system on it. And this gate lock system allows me to be able to just slap it on an A2 device. I mentioned before in the video that I did about the Griffin Armament 30 SDK that it must be a NATO spec A2 bird cage. If it is not NATO spec, it will not fit. And Bravo companies A2 bird cages are NATO spec, because of course they are. It's Bravo company. So that was the reason that I went with the A2 bird cage, or extended A2 bird cage on this, to reach the 16.1 inches in length so that I could pin and weld it, and so that I could put my suppressor on it so it would be a good host for my suppressor. And it is. This thing shoots great unsuppressed. It's surprisingly quiet suppressed. I was watching the video in post-production, and I was kind of surprised at how quiet this thing can be suppressed. So the longer barrel definitely helps. I think you get more burn off. Well, I know you get more burn off with the longer barrel, so it's helping mitigate that sound even more. There's just even less sound at the shooter's ear. And yeah, of course, you're still getting that supersonic crack of the bullet as it's breaking the sound barrier. That can't be avoided, but it is shockingly quiet for a suppressed 5.56. Not 300 blackout subsonic quiet, but surprisingly quiet for a 5.56, I gotta say. All right, and that just leaves us with the optics system that we've got on this guy. I'm going to go ahead and take this off first, though. There we go. It's a little harder to do it with one hand because of the heat wrap that I've got on it. But anyway, moving back to the optics system. This is a really weird optic, but I actually wanted to try it out just so that I could do a video on it, and I am going to do a video later because that was the whole purpose of purchasing this optic. It is an AT3 RCO, and it has a 62 MOA ring with a 2 MOA dot in the middle. That 62 MOA ring is not a 65 MOA ring, and I wish it was. but it is a 62 MOA ring, and it does about the same job as a 65 MOA ring. And primarily, it's a donut of death, and I know that anywhere inside of that donut is going to die, and like my shots are going to land where they need to. It makes, for me, target acquisition a lot faster. When I can see that circle, my brain knows that whatever's inside of that circle is where my shots are going to go, and I can start pulling the trigger. So for me, it allows for faster target acquisition. Other people just like the dot, like less noise for them. Just the dot gets them faster target acquisition. I get that. For me and my old ass, the donut of death helps with that. Now, the AT3 is some Chinese bullshit, 100% for sure. But it's surprisingly decent Chinese bullshit that does not entirely suck. And that's why I got it, is I wanted to play around with it. But this isn't a review of the AT3. I'll do a video on that. Back here, we have a primary arms 6X magnifier on a primary arms. Flip up, you have to push back on a spring system. It's got a detent in there, keeps it in place. You push back and it'll rotate. So I did not use the 6X magnification in any of the shooting you saw in the intro video, because that's a 50-yard bay at my shooting range, and you don't need magnification for shooting at 50 yards. And if you do, you need to train more. If you can't hit what you're aiming at 50 yards without magnification, you need to get out and shoot more, because you should be able to hit what you're aiming at 50 yards without magnification. You should train to do that with a handgun. Not saying that everybody can do that. I'm just saying you should definitely raise your standard. But with a rifle, you should definitely be able to, rifle or carbine, you should definitely be able to reach out and slap something at 50 yards with the iron sights. And 1x magnification. You should not need a magnifier to do that. So, just saying.
Well, why you boring me? I'm right.
So yeah, I didn't really get to use the 6X magnifier when I was shooting. It looks great though. It looks clear when I'm looking at targets at distance through the 6X magnifier. It's baller. I mean, it does what it needs to do. So you pretty much have two settings. You get 1X and 6X with this optic system. I think that's actually pretty good. 1X, 6X, I think you could be able to shoot out to a few hundred yards with 1X, at least like 200. And once you need to go past that, you can switch to 6X and be good. So, and then I've got flip up rear irons. So in the event that the optic dies, I can still run iron sights. After all, there's a front post there, so you kind of have to run rear irons in the event that you need to, because you've got a front post. So not having rear irons would be fucking criminal. So, and that's it, guys. There is not a lot more to talk about here. This was my Block 2 build. Like I said, this is my idea, my ideal Block 2 build minus a better optic system. Would I rather be running something like an EOTech or a really good LPVO? And I mean a good LPVO, not like the crap LPVOs that I have, but like a good LPVO. Yeah, I think that would be preferable. But this is what I've got, and I was happy with the results shooting it at the range today. Not to mention, she looks sexy as fuck. She is surprisingly easy to maneuver and shoot around obstacles. I thought that she would be unwieldy and heavy and everything else, but honestly, it didn't feel wildly different than it does shooting my 11.5-inch sorta Mark 18 build that I have. So yeah, I really like it, and it definitely can reach out and do some damage at a much greater range than an 11.5-inch barrel. And that heavier barrel profile means less whiplash on the barrel, meaning less barrel flex, so greater accuracy on follow-up shots that are quick, and your barrel's not going to heat up as much, so you're going to be able to shoot and still maintain a tighter group without that group really opening up on you. And you've got the chrome lining, so you're going to get a lot more life out of the barrel, as well. So there's just all kinds of great things going on with the SOCOM profile barrel. I really like it. I really like the Block 2. I like the history behind the Block 2, and if you haven't read up on any of the history, there's some great articles out there on the web. I'll link them below. And they go over the history of the Block 1 and Block 2 in SOPMOD. But yeah, just a really fun build, piece of history in the global war on terror, and I wanted to build one, and I did. So thanks for tuning in, guys. If you like this video, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe. Helps me out a lot. And if you didn't like it, go ahead and smash dislike and tell me why I'm a douche in the comment section below. If you guys have any recommendations for videos you'd like to see in the future, go ahead and leave those in the comment section below as well. As always, remember to be kind, be empathetic, be compassionate, but still remember to be dangerous. And I'll see you next time. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and run a drill I just came up with off the top of my head for shits and giggles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 90-pound sandbag that's behind me. I'm going to go out to that far target. The timer's going to go off. I'm going to draw my pistol from concealment with my strong hand, put 3 rounds in the target, reholster, run down to the first barricade for cover, drop the sandbag, put 3 rifle rounds in that target, then drag the sandbag from the first barricade to the second barricade to cover, and then put 3 rounds on the near target. So we're going to go ahead and do that for fun. This is with the M4A1 Block 2 build. So this is my Block 2 build that I'm doing the video on today, and I'm just going to go ahead and run this drill for fun. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and do that and have some fun, get our heart rate up, and yeah. Ooh, hot brass down my pants. Fuck.